Yeah, I'm Chili Palmer. I was in the military for 25 years. Started in the 1st Ranger Battalion, and all my service was in special operations. Retired in 2014, and then been in the drone industry and firearms industry ever since. Wore a lot of Crye Precision during my time.
Really wasn't that much of a tactical world per se when we started. Like I was very limited in that regard. I think kind of solve unique problems of our customers at that time, which very quickly became very real.
It is beautiful outside.
Other than that, it's kind of quiet around the country. We like quiet.
Number 2.
Yeah.
An effort up there yet. Now remember,
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
U.S. forces are now coming into the center of Baghdad. This is what regime change looks like.
They were just standard cut for everything early on. When I got to 1st Ranger Battalion in '89, then we ended up jumping into Panama. First thing I did after landing on the ground was put my rucksack on after I got out of my parachute harness, and then took a knee and blew out my crotch. That just sucked. Having underwear on was my saving grace, otherwise I would have been, twigs and berries hanging everywhere. The good thing was now with the Crye stuff is the fact that the way they actually made the pants and the cut on them and then the stretch panels, never had an issue with that. If you had the weight on, you were laying down in the prone, you went up to take a knee to stand up, you didn't have to worry about your crotch blowing out on you. I mean, just simple things like that make it so much more efficient. And of course, when you're not worrying about your kit because you know it's going to perform, then you can worry about the task at hand.
Hi, I'm Greg Thompson, Executive Director of Crye Precision. We're kind of always looking to develop product for sort of any of our customers. It just so happened that in the early 2000s, we identified that there was a major shortfall sort of in the area of personal protective gear, that sort of thing. We put our hat in the ring, and we're kind of exposed immediately to users who maybe hadn't necessarily gotten sort of the amount of attention that they necessarily needed. So we really were looking at them as the primary stakeholder.
Our first kind of piece with Crye was all the uniforms. So I remember it was early on in, I think, '03 that they came down to our place of Bragg and showed us some uniforms they were working on, basically different pockets, pouches, things like that. And we had a lot of feedback because we were, of course, operational already for a few years, so running back and forth to the desert and home, guys were coming up with all sorts of ideas. So when Crye came down and wanted user feedback on how to develop their stuff and what they were showing us already, I mean, it was just kind of made it night and day where it was so much more usable. It gave you a lot more kind of flexibility to carry little items along the way.
These are cheap Chinese Wish.com specials, without a doubt. This is the kind of quality you're gonna expect to receive. I bought one, it was shit. I thought I'd buy a second one, it might not be shit. It was also shit. These are also shit. So basically, if you buy anything from there, it's going to be shit.
Okay, so to start, micro-adjustable waistband. It's simple, it's efficient, it makes sense. Further down, we have the stretch panel and allows for more flexibility, less rips. Now, I can see they have tried to incorporate it here, but seem to have misplaced it. Underneath the belt loops, zipper here to secure whatever you're needing to carry. They seem to have misplaced the zipper here as well, or any sort of secure pocket mechanism. Reinforced seating area. A stretch panel to stop crotch blowouts. Now here we can see an attempt at it, but it's smaller, weaker, and wears quicker. Ergonomic fit, micro adjustments available too. Crye Precision Brilliance, and then straight leg, no micro adjustments. Reminds me of the trousers I wore when I joined the army. The famous Crye integrated knee pads, fully customizable. No knee pad, no customizability. For me, it's integral to have some form of joint protection.
You know, and seeing some of the special operations side come over and working with them, you know, overseas as well, but it was all just standard kit, and it wasn't anything that was really made for the mission. You know, with quality comes a price. And, you know, Crye itself is there, and it's one of the best pieces of kit out there as far as uniforms, the body armor, you know, your plate carriers, all that, because, again, they listen to that end user feedback. The Army just looks at, again, from the programmatic side, how can we do this, how can we do that?
I was in school at the time. Sort of, I think you think about the short list of things you want to do as a kid, and it could be anything from, like, I want to make monster trucks to, you know, I want to make Army gear.
It's more about making it with the soldier than for the soldier, because then you lose a lot of the necessities that soldier needs. You know, again, that user feedback, now you know you're making it for the functionality of what their mission set is and what they need to do.
22 years old, 23 years old, however old I was, like, being able to work with, like, tier 1 people who you don't even know what that means when you're that young, like, it's crazy. The fact, like, you think about it in hindsight, they had a completely open mind to, like, work with us.
But I think you look at the functionality and the comfort of each of the items, basically, from clothing up to the body armor, and then the fact that you're not sacrificing any of your survivability with the plate carriers. You're actually even a little more mobile than what we were with some of the older styles of plate carriers and body armor that we were wearing, where they were just kind of made for survivability, not so much, you know, comfort and mobility, and the idea of actually doing your conducting your operations in that kit.
We just started asking around casually for people who might have contacts within our world, and sure enough, at that time, it happened to be, you know, people in the sort of the tier 1 community, if you will, all kind of coupled with the backdrop of this crazy amount of rapid deployment and things like that are happening in the early 2000s, where you have guys going out for 3, 6, 9 months at a time, and all the while coming back with sort of an overwhelming amount of problems.
Just rely on programmatic feedback. You're building something to a program, but who's the one that really came up with those, you know, basically parameters for what that kit needs to do? But getting that end user feedback is huge, and that really set Crye apart. They constantly evolved with the user feedback.
Whether that be based on, like, sort of it's physically, geographically, it's new terrain, it's a new enemy, there's new technology. Just the amount of problems that were being uncovered was so real, so rapid, so frequent, and so we sort of just did what I think what any product development company would do, is just try to fit a solution to that problem and just build and iterate and iterate and iterate. not be afraid to screw it up.
No matter what, it's hot, it's cold, it's whatever, but it's how you can adapt and still accomplish your mission within that. Because if you're too bulky and it's really hot, I mean, it's hard. Now you can't really cool down. So the nice thing, the way it's cut, the plate carrier especially, but it allowed you to actually not feel overly hot. Granted, again, like I say, if it's over 120 degrees, it's hot no matter what, but it's what happens when you start sweating now. Is that kit gonna move around? Is that gonna stay put? You know, with the uniform itself and then the plate carriers, that was the nice thing. Didn't matter how wet you got or whatever, if they're in a hot environment, the kit didn't move around.
I'm Johanna Bloomfield, and I'm the lead apparel designer here at Crye Precision. Yeah, so I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we started reaching out to select groups of female operators domestically. And we ended up asking them about the current uniform they were wearing, and a lot of them were just wearing men's uniforms that they were getting tailored. So they were telling us about issues like, it seems like nothing, but having the rise of the trouser be too long, which then would cause chafing on their inner leg, which causes bleeding. Like crazy things like that, that could so easily be fixed just by custom tailoring a uniform for them. I've had female customers come up to me who said, you know, they had to give a briefing overseas and they finally felt like, you know, they were worthy of doing that because they were in a uniform that fit them. We made samples in-house and fit on female fit models, and then would send samples out to those customers again and have them field test it and evaluate it. So it wasn't really for features, it was really for fit, because for women there's much more of a broad range of fit versus men. You know, you have so many different bust sizes, waist sizes, hip sizes. It's a little bit more complex.
Whatever this thing ended up being, this specifically solved somebody's problem. Like, this specifically addressed someone's need, and in a way I can say that, yeah, I liked that solution. I think that was a good solution, but my opinion hardly even matters. You know what I mean? In that world. So rather, I'm really proud of the fact that hopefully any project that we've worked on, any product that we've made, has solved that problem.
I have a background in fashion design. I actually studied menswear at the London College of Fashion. So my background is not in military clothing, it is very much aesthetic based. But I got more into technical sportswear, ski wear, things like that, and then got into the military design about 12 years ago. And when I came to Crye, I kind of looked at the existing product they had and put together what you would call a design language. So looking at the angles of the lines within the garments, and kind of creating a library of that so that there could be consistency across any products that got designed, you know, moving forward.
There's just, that is, the feedback loop is the core of that, the spine of that workbook, and that's how we develop every product. So you'll see that kind of like, this stuff is terrible, you know, this stuff fits me, whatever.
Hi, I'm Johanna at Crye Precision. I'm going to talk to you guys about our new cold weather line.
For our cold weather system, it's called ATO, it's Alpine Terrain Operations. We actually developed that with Scandinavian Special Operations and also Canadian. We built that kit from scratch, basically. And anything from a hood brim, they wanted to add a wire in there for reinforcement, so it stayed in place when they were wearing a helmet. They also wanted, you know, very specific thumb loops that would fit over a cold weather glove. So there's always crazy stuff like that. But for us, it's super valuable because it determines, you know, the end product. It's very fun. And I have to say, it's also very rewarding. You know, fashion has a purpose, but, you know, what we do now for uniforms is much more purposeful. You get to get direct feedback from the customers. They're grateful for what you did. You know, everything you do is purpose built. At the end of the day, it's for the customer, you know, it's not for me. So whatever they say, within reason, you know, we listen to it and we take that as the most important part of the design.